Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. Thanks for joining me, Jen. And we are here to talk today about maybe a familiar topic, but we have maybe a different way of looking at it, and that is culling clients or pruning clients. And back in October, we declared National Fire Some Clients Day on October 21st. And we are declaring May 19th, 2023, National Fire Some Clients Day again, because we think looking at your clients and assessing them as you're coming out of busy season, and just really looking at the health of your clients, and as you're focusing and identifying your ideal target clients, it's just really important to have a continuous process, like make it a strategic focal area to prune clients. And so we want to talk about that and have you really look at that again and say, how can we make this a process? But before we jump into that, I think we need to back up and say, why are we talking about this again in spring? Why are we, bringing this topic up again? And Jen and I, just before we came out here, we were talking about just looking at staffing and capacity, both in our business and with clients that we're working with. And it continues to be a challenge. It's a blessing. It's a good thing that we have so much opportunity in the profession and that clients need so much from us, but we have to be super strategic and judicious about the clients we say yes to, and the prospects we bring in, the strangers to the firm, and what kind of projects we're saying yes to. And one of the ways to do that is to assess and look at those clients that really are not fitting, or even just to say, there's a certain percentage, there's the one school of thought that a certain percentage of clients, it's just healthy to prune a certain percentage of your clients every year, just like pruning your trees. We're not quite there in Minnesota yet. It's still pretty cold here for April, but we're getting there where we need to, prune. We need to clean everything up, clean up my lilac bushes, clean up my apple trees so that they are super healthy and can grow. And that's how we want you to think about this idea, of pruning clients. So, Jen, what would you add as we, talk about, gosh, why are we circling back to this?
Well, we were using the word in our last phone call, if we're honest, overwhelm.
Yes.
And not just in our business or practice, but also just hearing that from our clients and hearing it from the leaders and hearing it from their people and hearing it from their concerns about, like, how do we grow this thing when we feel like we're tapped out or we're as spread thin as we could be. And so, in talent leadership, which is this HR Huddle, when firms feel strapped for capacity, they kind of turn and look at talent and say, what have you done for me lately? How are you going to solve this for me? And the solution is not just more bodies. And it's not just the same kind of bodies we always hired. It's also this idea of, where should we say no? And, how could we say no in a way that doesn't impact the business negatively? Part of overwhelm, though, and this is a really interesting thing, on Friday, a woman that I follow on Twitter, in tax Twitter, Ashley, the CPA, her handle is at Seattle_tax. She's amazing. And I follow her, and mostly I'm in awe of her application of AI and her quest to automate tax in her practice. I just love it. And I love all her open sharing and that sort of thing. Well, Friday she posted that she's reading a book called Micro Resilience. And I haven't read it yet, so I'm not, it's written by Bonnie St. John. So I can't speak to the book myself, but the reason I'm bringing it up right now in this conversation is because what she wrote was, one of her big ahas from the book that she posted about on Friday was this thing, Tamera, you and I were talking about, which is the mental gear shifting, and how across the eons, humans, most of our work was up and down and physical labor and walking and running and, digging and whatever else. We were active. And we have automated the holy heck out of our jobs. And our jobs have become more sedentary, of course, but also requiring way more data absorption and way more information exchange and collaboration, lots of data ripping through the wires at each other. Like I just pinged Tamera before this and said, hey, I can tell you have a few minutes to talk to me because you're sending me 1,000 emails right now. So I'm going to try to stop your email traffic and talk to you on the phone about some stuff. And so that's how we got our little quick check-in. But this idea that, the human brain wasn't made for this. We haven't evolved fully to support this kind of barrage that we're facing. And so, the reason I bring that up is because it's easy for people to look at numbers and say, well, wait a minute, our people aren't billing that much more or more at all. Their number of billable hours is the same number of billable hours it was last year, or even less.
Yes.
They could look at original metrics or the traditional metrics, and they could say, wait, it doesn't look like you guys are working that much harder. I don't get it. I don't get the overwhelm. And we have to recognize that if somebody feels overwhelmed and they say, I can't do anymore, then they can't. More than likely, very, very more than likely, they can't. And we at Convergence are experiencing this with a lot of the clients we're speaking to, and not just staff. Yes, staff, seniors, supervisors, managers, senior managers, new partners. We're hearing it from them for sure. But we're also hearing it from traditionalists and from longtime partners and senior leaders in the business. So it's just something for us to all to stop and say, hey guys, wow, velocity and volume is overwhelming. And we might be hitting the max of our capacity to absorb it and manage it and still have joy in our jobs. So what can we do about it? Let's say no to some stuff. And this idea of National Fire Some Clients Day is a big no. No more of these clients, whichever ones they are. And we're going to take you back to the old 80-20 rule. 80% of your firm's revenue comes from 20% of the clients. So you could trim as much as 80% of the clients and only see a drop of 20% of revenues. And most firms don't have the courage to do something that massive. But even if you said goodbye to 20% of the clients at the bottom, what percentage of that 20% of revenues do they make up? It's probably decently minuscule, but the number of clients down there, the little ones, the minnows, or some firms call them the chickens, we've heard, the granny returns. I don't know what the right terminology is. All of it's awful, but the little ones or the ones
the start and stop. Jen, the start and stop of that alone, because you could argue it's small. It's only $500. It's only $1,000. It's only $1,500. But the pickup, put down, and how many people are doing that for that one client, is just too much. And that's part of that absorption you were just talking about. I just thought it was just such a good connection where you were going there.
Yeah, well, I just, for me, Tamera, this is, and we've been talking a lot about this in our own strategic planning. You have to say no, and it hurts. No is ugly, and we're in the help business. You are too. We get why CPA firms don't want to say no. We understand you have like a public service feeling, like I owe it to these people to help them with these issues. We get it, and so we understand how painful this is. But I don't know how you can say any new yeses or any good kind of cool, exciting, fun yeses, like figuring out really how to maximize the use of AI in your practice and how to dramatically cut steps out of the workflows, or how to hire non-CPA work stream into the practice to bring more resource in, just breathe a bunch of resource into the business that's not accounting grads and that isn't going to necessarily have the same financial trajectory, but they could come in and really take off the administrative and operational burden and the customer service, client communication, day-to-day stuff from your people. You're not going to have any space to do those things if you don't say some no's. None of us is sitting around like, okay, empty desk syndrome. I'm ready to do some new, cool, innovative things. Most are coming out of busy season with a pile of stuff that they have to get to. It's smoldering. It's going to burst into flames at any moment. And some of that pile could probably get no said to it as well. But man, let's fire some clients.
Right. I just think that is so important. And we know this is a relationship business. We also get that too. We're in a relationship business, and that's part of what makes not only we're in public service, but the relationship and saying no to the relationships, especially if they're long standing relationships or we like the people or we want to help them, that can make it difficult. And so there's, a list of objections that you could experience if you raise this as part of our strategic planning for 2023. What are we going to do? And you say, for us to get a hold of capacity, we really have to look at an ongoing pruning approach and assessing our clients, and maybe after both of our peak periods, which is why we're doing this again in spring. Fall feels like another good time. Anytime you do it, we would applaud you, so don't get attached to that, but we just feel like it's a good time to stop and assess and say which ones are no longer a fit, and identify the objections that you're going to get. We wrote a blog on it in the fall. We're going to update it for the spring. But we know some of the common objections are the relationships that we developed. And it's in the best interest of the client often for us not to serve them anymore because of the start or stop, or because they're filler work. That's a term we use, internally. And we talk about that, with our clients, is sometimes these clients we treat them like filler work, which is not fair to them. And so if we really got real to that, or we're worried about losing revenue, we beg of you, you will not lose revenue, that objection is false. And it's been proven over and over again from firms that are really actively doing this, and they can spend the time to do more for their A clients. They can spend time doing AI and automating and creating efficiency and still charging or increasing fees. And so we're going to increase our realization there, make more money, be more profitable. There's just all kinds of ways that we can, ensure that we are going to make money. The risk of, losing money or, profits going down is low because of all the opportunity that we have. So those are a couple of things that we know, we hear, and that you'll probably hear when we talk about, doing this. It could impact, compensation, partner compensation, or it could impact, buy, sell if we have retiring partners. And we talk about strategies to, freeze that. If we know they're retiring within 2 to 3 years, we should freeze all those metrics so that they do the right thing. They're not penalized for doing the right thing and transitioning clients, because that is an ideal time to transition and fire clients. We perpetuate clients that are no longer a fit, and bad clients. I was going to say bad clients, but there are some bad clients, but there's often clients that are just no longer a fit, that you fill up, a new partner or a senior manager to get them a book of business, but it's with the wrong clients. And so if that partner's retiring, that can be part of the message to say, this partner's retiring, and, we're going to help you find a new home as part of that transition process. And, we can manage it that way. So, there are ways to have this become a regular way that we operate and do business, to manage, those yeses and, say more nos. And that's some places to say more nos.
For sure, Tamera. And you talked about bad clients, and I know it's awkward to say that aloud. It feels a little bit like, the word bad shouldn't be next to the thing we value so much. But, as HR professionals, let's get real. There are clients in the practice that aren't joyful to work with. They could be downright unpleasant, angry, mean, grouchy, off-putting. The environment we send our people to, if they physically go on site, is yucky. It's depressing, or it's a bad place to travel to, or something like that, like, terrible travel accommodations, or whatever it is, where it's a grind. It's just crushing to do it. We have slow pay and no pay clients, which our staff don't respect us for serving. They're just grossed out that we can't get the economics right. So there are bad clients. Now most firms, you don't have a huge number of them. Not at all. We know that, but there are some. And so twice a year, May, October, that's what we're proposing. But your service cycle will cause the timing, and you might want to do it only once a year, but we recommend twice a year. If you have 2 busy seasons, it's a good exercise post busy season to stop right then and say, okay, let's get together, let's get our groups together and talk about, are there any clients to let go of, and what criteria should we use now? what's going on in the business today? What do we hope for the rest of this calendar year will happen? What do we want to take on and say yes to? And what will we have to say no to in order to do that?
Right.
And who do we need to free up? That's another way to look at it. So sometimes it's a little bit like, we already went out to our consultants and our CPAs, and we already asked them, and we did this last fall, and we probably cleaned it up pretty good. Okay, super. What sort of proactive initiatives should you be doing in the practice that would get us really ahead in being a next gen service provider and a next gen destination workplace for talent? And who do we need to free up to cause those new initiatives to happen? And then, do we need to prune their clients, or do we need to move their good clients to someone else who has kind of crummy clients and move those crummy clients out?
Right.
So this is super critical, and it's a hard discussion. And in HR, they're not expecting it from you. They're not expecting you, probably inside your firm, to be coming forward and saying, hey, everybody, it's starting to be post busy season. Let's talk about pruning. And by the way, you are used to pruning, most HR professionals, because we complete the spring and fall busy seasons and say, who's not working out? If we had interns that didn't work out, staff, for wondering like who is going to make it forward into our business from a talent perspective, we've already been sort of used to assessing that. We have to assess clients the same way, the same critical eye, and even a more critical eye, perhaps, because we so desperately need to make space to minimize our overwhelm, maximize our proactivity, and give our people hope. Some firms didn't do this. Now, we had lots of firms that high-fived us and came up to us at conferences in the fall, and in December, I went to a few conferences and had people at the coffee bar say, I fired 1,100 clients, our firm did, and, make my heart like sing with joy and just relief for what I know that causes. And there are testimonies out there, guys, that say, I fired X number of clients and my revenue and my profit went up.
Yep.
Again, tax Twitter hashtag, go out and search the tax Twitter hashtag. Somebody, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who, but she was female. I know that much. One of the people that I follow out there posted about that. Hey guys, I fired a bunch of clients. I thought I'd give you the update on how revenues went and profits. And it was all up, 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 even though she trimmed. So this is the wise thing to do.
Yes. And Carrie's out here following us today, Jen, and I think she raises a good point, is we also have to align the, service deliverers with the sales and business development folks and marketing folks. And that's why it's so important when you are identifying and assessing your clients to get really specific about who our ideal clients are today and going forward. Because it's not necessarily the same ideal clients 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or when we started the business 70 years ago. And so, really looking at your client acceptance procedures. Also, we should do this by industry and service line and define our ideal target clients, across each of those groups. And we should be communicating that so that we are aligned and so we don't perpetuate yeses to clients that are no longer a fit. We're pruning them out over here on the back end, after, service delivery, and then we're bringing them in on the sales and business development side. And so I think that's a really good point and a really good exercise if you have not done it lately, or just again, communicate. Maybe we have, and we need to go back and communicate it out now as we're approaching, conference season, or as we're meeting with clients, or some of that proactive things that we're doing, Jen, so that we are all aligned about what clients we should say yes to, and even what our, approval process is. And we don't want to add hoops to that, but even within our business, it's like, hey, if especially certain kinds of clients that demand certain resources, or that we're really trying to manage capacity, or we're growing, or whatever the reason is, we're like, hey, you can't sell that without approval, from this group. They have to be in the loop, because it's not just a sales closed engagement. It is impacting our team capacity, admin resources, all of it. And so we don't often think about that like that. We just think growth and new business, and we have to get aligned with that. So Carrie, thank you for that, because I think that's super valid.
I love it. And I'm going to add one more idea to that, Tamera. And that is the idea of telling your referral sources.
Yes.
Who your ideals are. You and I have a shared email out in our box from somebody who referred some business to us. And I've
And we're both ignoring it.
or contact. So you get to tell him that we don't serve those kinds of clients. That's what he's referring as a client that we don't serve. Right. And so, and we don't serve outside of the accounting profession. So right. That's where we run into trouble, where our wonderful CPA friends want to refer us clients or friends, but they're outside of the accounting profession. And, so we do some work with accounting technology firms, but we just don't really do other industries. And so that's a perfect example where somebody yes. thinks he's doing us just a huge favor, and we feel terrible because now we have to go back and say, gosh, we're not a fit for this. And he may have already told that client, and here we're going to have kind of an awkward moment where it hit me that we had not told our referral source yes. the details. And we're not that good at that. I think what we do is we tell them like in a campaign or something, but then we don't pay attention to keeping it current and saying, hey, here's what we're doing lately, or here's where we're really focused from a product service perspective, or so third parties are important to tell as well.
Yeah, super, super smart. So we wanted to just raise this to your attention and hope that you can, drive some of this conversation about, hey, leaders, it is time to prune again, as we are really looking at our capacity and where we want our growth to be. And, time for proactivity. We really need to look again, or look, because we didn't do it last fall, at our, clients and assess them and make some those tough decisions moving forward. So we hope you do that. We would be happy to support you, or, if there's anything, that you have questions about as you have these conversations. We do think it's your place as HR professionals and kind of the guardians of your talent pool. This is a conversation we think that you should be raising and driving. So watch for more information about National Fire Clients Day on May 19th, 2023. We'll be posting it in social media, and we'll send it in some promos, and so just watch for more of that. You can share blogs and different information with your leadership team as you have these conversations as well. So we hope you have a great week. We look forward to seeing you again on the next HR Huddle, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Bye now.